What is up, A2D, the country, the fam, the nation? We all bleed midnight green on this week as we all are in celebration of the second Lombardi trophy brought home back to the Philadelphia and surrounding area by our lovely Philadelphia Eagles, the bullies now. I mean, yeah, you beat somebody 40-6, and everybody can say 40-22. We know the score was 40-6.
Yeah.
But it's your boy Pete. It's the boy Kid over here, Chucks. Filmed on live, brought to you by A2D, and you can only find us here. So listen, man, a lot of energy has been spent. It was a pretty easy night for a Sunday night watching the game. I would say everybody coming off the NFC Championship game. And just the hype we heard, three-peat, Eagles this, Eagles that, can Jalen do it? But then it would go, like, if you looked at programming, it would be like an hour-long show. It would probably be 48 minutes of can the Chiefs three-peat? Is this the dynasty? And maybe 12 minutes, if not less. Like, it was almost like the Eagles didn't belong. You know what I mean? And I think people forgot that 2 years ago, the Eagles were favored. Point and a half, the favorite. So the line was the opposite way. And then shout out to Vegas, man. Them moving that line and setting it there went from a point and a half to minus a half. Yeah. ESPN released today. Vegas made a killing on the Eagles' money. So I'm gonna tell people out there when you watch this, listen, if your only argument, like we've been hearing, not argument, but if your path for the Chiefs to win Sunday night was, well, they win clutch games, they win clutch moments. Don't believe the hype, people. The hype is not always real. People
didn't even get to that.
People are human. But before we move any further, Chucks, who are we sponsored by tonight?
We are sponsored by Alonzo Travel, specializing in creating the vacation of your dreams at Disney, Universal, or wherever your heart calls you. Let the talented team of travel experts, including myself, create a custom vacation for you. So hit me up when you're ready to plan. It really was. I know that you were saying before we started recording that it was an easy watch for you. I don't know about anyone else, but for me, I still was stressed out up until the Milton Williams strip sack. Like, you'll see me, and I'm just I refused to breathe and let myself relax until that moment. And then I think I even posted, because Mary, obviously, Mary, she's always recording, right. And she recorded several moments, and it wasn't until that strip sack that's when it wasn't an overly emotional thing or emotional game like we were talking about before the show. I think a lot of it was because it was such a blowout, so it wasn't we weren't as tense, so the emotions kind of just were eased. But for me, I think the reality kind of set in at the strip sack, and then that's
what was the score at that point?
God, I can't 30 something. I don't know. Or was it?
So if it was in the threes,
I can't remember. I don't remember, but it was after. That came after the DeVonta.
Yeah, see, I could understand maybe even at 24-0 at the end of the first half. It's like, all right, it's 30 minutes of football left. We were in this position 2 years ago, double that, Bob, because they were up 10 in 2023. But now being up 24, but the whole flow of the game it felt different. And I think for me, when I really sat there and told myself, all right, the Philadelphia Eagles are 2-time Super Bowl champions, right? Was when go back to the third quarter, that first drive, 3 and out. I was like, yeah, this is up. Because at that point, what we heard, the adjustments that they were going to make at halftime, can Spags do anything different? Can Andy do anything different? And once that, it was like, nah. Like, once that 3 and out in the third quarter, it was just, this is just utter domination. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I kept thinking about, all right, 28-3, Patriots Falcons.
Right.
I kept thinking about that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that started at the end of the third quarter for them, right? Was it end of the third quarter?
Yeah, but see, the thing about people forget about that game was the Patriots were moving the ball inside the 20.
Oh yeah. No, I totally like even like you.
But when you're in it, I get it. If you go back Sunday and you're in it,
it's
you're
like,
not.
Yeah, like there's no way. Like
Right.
I did not want to let myself relax until I knew for sure that there was no way possible for that Chiefs team led by Mahomes to do anything, and it wasn't until the Milton Williams strip sack that was for me.
I can see that. I mean, I think truly for me that third quarter 3 and out, I was all right. So they still don't have an answer.
Yeah.
And then the DeVonta Maddox sighting on that
fourth.
Was,
talk about one of the signs we were just like, it's just our night.
Yeah, because and then Pat and Mahomes is just off. So, but outside of that, once they got that turnover and downs, and then the very next play was the bomb to DeVonta, I was like, all right, that's the nail in the coffin, because at that point, I don't think they can create enough possessions to get back into the game to the point where we can lose.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was at. Not so much to be scared, like not scared, but fearful that they may blow the lead or that the Chiefs may make it a game. But at that point, I was like, all right, even if they make it a game, there's not enough time. And then the way we play methodically on offense, and what I've seen so far through at this point, it had to be over 40 minutes of football, because I think that was towards like 4 or 5 minutes left in the third quarter. That they don't have it. That magic trick that they needed to pull out of the hat, the Chiefs, Kansas City just didn't have it. Like their magic finally, like the hourglass on their magic finally ran out. And they didn't have any more wishes. And it was Will. And we said this last Tuesday when we had less one, like I was from media night. It really looked like one team showed up and was all business, having fun, but they knew they had a goal to attain. And the other team was glitz, glamour, this, that, and the third. Almost like, I know probably been hearing all week, right? And you'll continue to hear it. 2013 Super Bowl 49, I think it was, the Seahawks in Denver. But I even give you a better analogy, not in football. I almost felt as if this was Detroit Pistons, Lakers in the 80s, the glitz and glamour show team. They can still be gritty. They can win different types of ways, but they had all the stars. The Pistons had good players, Isaiah, Dumars, but they can get down and dirty with you, Lambeer, Mahorn. And they just took it to them, and they didn't have an answer. What happened to the Lions in the divisional round happened to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I wouldn't say they kind of overlooked this, but once we talk about it, they didn't play a team like us all year. You really can't play a team like us until you play us.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You really, like, to think about, like, throughout the season, Steelers, all these teams that are known to be big and bad and use their muscle and impose their will. Steelers, Ravens. I'm trying to think somewhat with the Packers as well. And it's like, bro, like, no, we beat those teams in the submission. And I can get it. It's Patrick Mahomes, it's this, that, and the third. Oh, Tom Brady's better than Brady. Listen, man. Nah. That the best team who played the best, physical talent outbeat X's and O's on Sunday night, because Vic really didn't do anything different. He didn't do anything. He didn't do anything fancy. And maybe they just coached him to the point to where it's like, hey, this zone coverage that we're going to run our normal zone, but we're just going to let's crowd the space a little bit quicker. Let's get to it. Maybe not so much quicker, but we're not going to give that leash to Patrick Mahomes. We're still going to play our zone, but we're just not going to get that leash to him.
Yeah, it was a masterful game plan, and we'll get into that. It was something where I don't know if I want to hit on this yet, because I do want to get into it, but it was just something where it felt like there was nothing stopping us. There was nothing stopping us.
Right.
There really wasn't. There was Chris Long talks about how in the NFC Championship game, it didn't matter who was going to go in there. Eagles were going to win it. That kind of mindset. And it just kind of felt like that in this game. You know what I mean? Like, and even in the NFC Championship game against the Commanders for us this season. It just felt like no matter what, it could have been any team in the league at any point. We were going to beat them, and it's just they proved by season's end that they were the best team in the league. If I remember what you said, that like you keep harping the fact that like when the Eagles play their game, when they play the way they're supposed to, the talent and the coaching that we have, there's no way that a team can beat us, and that came into fruition finally in the NFC Championship game and in the Super Bowl. And
they played their best 2 games of the year. That when I say that, I'm not talking individual performances. I'm not talking about one side of the ball. Their best 2 complimentary games came in the 2 biggest games of the year, and it just melded everything together. But like you said, we've been hearing like they've been winning with their B game, sometimes their C game this year. Last 2 games, and they needed that divisional round game. That Rams game was the toughest test, best coach quarterback combination in the NFC, I would say. Yeah. And had experience in the Super Bowl. They in the elements, and people don't want to say this, but the snow hurt us more than it hurt.
Exactly like
the snow hurt us more than it hurt the Rams. Yes. Right. So it kind of leveled out the playing field, and Vic was like, all right, he kind of took the brakes off a little bit. And then it was like, okay, now, oh shit. Like, and I think he learned something from that perspective, and the players did too, to go into this game to kind of keep the foot on the gas for a little bit longer. But I mean, it's still because we don't win like that. Like I was saying before we came on, like you're talking about Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Art Museum, the steps where they're going to be at Friday, where the parade is going to end, where the speeches are going to be, has a statue of a fictional character, and Sylvester Stallone, aka Rocky, who in all the movies, even in the Creed movies, the spinoff, the underdog. Yeah. This wasn't like you're not the underdog now, so it feels different where you can kind of just puff out your chest a little bit, where it feels different than 2018, where you kind of felt like you caught lightning in a bottle. Because even in that, Brady had 500 yards. We hear it all the time, right? But this just feels the first one felt like we got one. This one feels like it could be the start of something.
Yes, yeah. And Bob's been hopping on that too. Even last night on Eagles, this could be the start. And I'm not going to pay credence to. That's a topic that every single major network puts out there after every Super Bowl. So, like, I'm not going to pay credence to that, but I think it's a fair thought to keep in your head, because I never want to get ahead of myself, because I know that there were fans that felt that same way back in 2018. Because they're fans, you kind of want to hope that you win the Super Bowl, you feel invincible. So I get that, but you look at the Eagles team, the fact that we have so many young players and our pipeline is good and we've been drafting so well, I think that gives fair credence to the thought of, hey, like we can be back here again soon. Maybe it's not next year, but maybe the year after that again. So we have a good foundation that we've set. And it feels like you said, this is just the beginning. So, well, let's get to our poll question and we'll lead into that, because this poll question, I know we debated back and forth about what our poll question should be, and the one we didn't go with, we'll save for next week. But I felt like it was fitting. Let's talk about the Super Bowl MVP, the guy who deserves all the flowers and all the accolades, Jalen Hurts. Has he solidified himself as a top 5 QB in the NFL?
I'm going to let you go first.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
All right. So let's break it down this way. All right. So let's look at roughly the QBs that are, that you want to put in contention here as part of this argument. We know the 4. All right. I think the 4 can't be debated. You have Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, and Burrow. Those 4 are in the top 5. Bart, I don't think anyone would complain or argue against those 4. Okay, so they objectively are fit in there. So now
you're taking those 4 going to
I'm not putting them in order. I'm just saying.
No, I understand that. I'm just saying, if the context that we're providing is if you had your choice at quarterback, those four in no particular order, you're taking before. That's not just you, but to those when you watch this, you listen to this. That is the context that I would like to question. That's how I'm looking at it. The QBs that I'm taking before I'm taking Jalen as my QB.
I am still, and I know fans will probably hate me for saying this. Mm-hmm. I would still take those four over Hurts. Mm-hmm. I personally would. But if you're looking after those four, right? So you've got bigger names, or like the other big names, I'm sorry, you have Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, CJ Stroud, Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff, Jordan Love, and then it gets into I think you can I guess you can include Dak in there.
You can stop. I mean.
So those are the names, right? So Herbert, Stafford, Stroud, Daniels, Love, Goff. I am taking Hurts at 5 over any of them. I personally would, because I get the Jaden Daniels thing, and a lot of people, with the season he had, I understand how his ceiling is. And we our first show we talked about Jaden Daniels. Mm-hmm. We are both very high on Jaden Daniels, and
it makes me sick because he's hard not to like.
Good. He's so good.
Right.
But if I'm going to be consistent on how I have always graded and evaluated quarterbacks, you've got to do it for more than one season. The last year, CJ Stroud was the hot name, was the hot rookie. Everyone, including myself.
Now, look at that whole team. Look at the organization as a whole.
Yeah. So I cannot, if I'm being consistent with my laurels and how I view them, I cannot yet put Daniels in the conversation. He has to do it consistently. Now, I've said the same about Jalen Hurts. After the 2022 season where, we lost and he was run up for MVP and all that, a lot of people were ready to put him in the elite category. I was not yet. I was saying, hey, he's got to do it for more than 1 year. Now Hurts has done it for more than a year. He's helped lead this team, come back. He's won Super Bowl MVP. There is, let's also put it this way. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of analysts and scouts, and when it comes to the draft and when it comes to evaling, and this has been a conversation on social media, especially on Twitter. You guys know where I'm at a lot. There are a lot of people who rank Hurts low when it comes to QB evals, right? You have. I'll say names just because, I feel like we should be able to. Right. You have guys at the ringer like Steven Ruiz and Deontay Lee who say Hurts is like a 15th to 17th best QB in the league, right? Around that range. That is, to me, that's nonsense. I think that they look so much at what a QB should be and look like. They look at traits, and if you're looking specifically at physical traits, obviously, Hurts is going to rank low, but what's annoying to me is that amongst those traits, or you have all those traits, you have all those skills that guys like Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert have. Where has that gotten those QBs? Yeah. And what do they do in the biggest moments when it counts? Because I have never understood how you can rank or grade or evaluate a quarterback, but then ignore how they perform in the postseason or in big games.
Yeah,
you cannot. Every time I hear that about, or I see someone rank Dak Prescott, rank Trevor Lawrence, and Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, I'm a big fan of. But when I see them constantly rank quarterbacks like that high, but ignore the fact that they've choked in the playoffs, especially Dak. Dak. And don't give me that he hasn't had a great team. He's had great teams that he's played. Those Cowboys teams have had stacked rosters. When you don't perform in the playoffs the way you're supposed to, at what point do we say, hey, like that goes against you? I feel like when it comes to analysts who don't look at that, that's not being fair. That's not. I don't understand why you are excluding that factor. Right. So when you have Jalen Hurts and you see so many other analysts, and I want to give credit for former players, like they say how important that is. And when it comes to big games, if you know and trust that your quarterback is going to step up and play big in those big games, that is such a confidence booster, and it's such a huge factor for your team. So when it comes to, I if I'm going to rank the quarterbacks, I probably have Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, and Burrow as a top 4 in some type of order. But that fifth guy is absolutely Hurts. It's like he has established himself now to where I don't think I can faithfully put other guys ahead of him at this moment. And I will go for a step further saying this and then let you go. If you were to ask me who I'd want as a quarterback in the fourth quarter in the clutch, it's Mahomes, and then it's Hurts. It's those two. And there's no one else I'd rather want other than Mahomes than it's those two. And I think as much as I love Allen, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow, if it's talking about clutch time, give me Jalen Hurts because I know he's going to make the right plays in order to win. So that's my 10-minute answer, long-winded answer to say that I agree to the poll. To me, he is the fifth best quarterback. If I were to rank it, he's fifth.
So if I'm looking at, here's the thing, right? Context, right? Once again, if you look at Tom Brady, his first 5 years of the league, physical traits, Tom Brady would have ranked in the bottom. Hell, his draft status said that, like he didn't have it because he was a 7th round pick. But then once you get in there and you start to play, you see the type of determination, you see the intangibles. That's where I think Ruiz and the guys that are out on Hurts, that's what they're missing. Like, if you look at my physical traits, if it took his physical traits to win a fucking Super Bowl, then Lamar would win it every year because there's no QB in the league like him that can do what he can do, right? So, and also look at it from this team and how this team is constructed, right? Then you also look at clutch moments, like you just spoke about. I would disagree to this poll because I think the number is too high. I would say Jalen Hurts has solidified himself as a top 2 quarterback in this NFL.
Juicy, okay.
Because it's Mahomes and then it's him, and that's not me just shooting the shit. Like there's only been one other quarterback that's been drafted since 2010 that get back to 2 Super Bowls. Look at the list to lose their first Super Bowl and not only get back to a second one, but then to win it and then be the MVP. MVP could have been a little facetious. If Josh Wood had a couple more sacks, he probably could have got it. If Cooper had another pick, he probably could have got it. But it is what it is. Heavy. Look, we just saw MVP be given to a guy, kind of handed to him. I'm not taking that away from Josh Allen, but Lamar Jackson. If you're looking at Stat Kings, Lamar Jackson should have won, right? So I say that because I'm not looking at this as solidifying himself as a top 5 QB just based off of physical traits. It's the whole package. Don't turn the ball over. Make the plays when you need to. Like you said, if it's a fourth quarter and I need points and the game is on the line, I have all 100% unequivocal faith in Jalen Hurts right now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It will be Mahomes and then it will be Jalen Hurts and then Lamar. Lamar and Allen, because then at that point, I mean, even Burrow got to a chip. I think Burrow has had from an offensive side, Burrow has had weapons, but has probably had the worst offensive lines. Okay, running game, but also has probably had the most inconsistent defenses, right?
Oh yeah.
Lamar's had a little bit to work with, but coaching and whatever decision making at that point just can't do certain things. And then Mahomes proved Sunday that Mahomes is human. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He has his flaws. and those flaws showed up. They don't show up often, and Jalen, and that's when you take. I cannot stress to the people enough who listen to this, who outside of the normal Philadelphia market, anything that the national media can say about Jalen, it's a section of the fan base that already feels like that is in the stands every Sunday when he plays. So you're not giving him anything that he's already not hearing at home anyway. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
and I'm just sitting here, right? I also want to give you the stats, right? We talk about Tom Brady. His 2000, 33% completion percentage, one game played. 2001, 63.9% completion percentage. 2002, 62.1. 2003, 60.2. 2004, 60.8. And then it wasn't until 2005, his sixth year in the league, where he eclipsed 4,000 yards, right? Mm-hmm. So go to Jalen Hurts. We'll look at 2021, had 61% completion percentage. 2022, 67%, threw for 3,700 yards. That's just passing. 2023, 65%, round up to 66. And then this year, 69%. So, like, when I say this, it's not all about stats. It's not all about what you can do or how you can throw the ball. That stuff matters. But if I got a Lamborghini and I got a vehicle that I built from the ground up that has all the best parts, all the best brakes, best engine, best transmission, if I got a shit driver, it don't matter. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be able to take all this hardware that you have, all this raw power, and harness it and make it practical. So if you're talking about practicality and being able to be calm and cool in the heat of the moment consistently, like it's no shock to me that we're sitting here saying, like, you can question games 1 through 19, right, for Jalen Hurts this season. Maybe this, maybe that. What's going to show the best? But now this is what frustrates you. This is what frustrates you, because it's like, all right, what is it that clicked in the conference championship game and the Super Bowl for him to trust his reads, get through his progressions, cause audibles, and the decision making process was quicker? Why can't I get that in week 10?
I don't know.
Exactly. But this is what I'm saying. It's still early. I don't think people realize he's only 26. And people say, like, oh yeah, I don't want to hear he's a young QB. Bro, like, that's still young.
That's still very young.
Like, people forget. Now, this is why I would say the first 6-7 years of Mahomes' career versus Brady, Mahomes has had to do a lot more and take a lot more on than Brady ever did in his first 6 to 7 years.
Oh, because
Brady. Damn, honestly, the early Patriots were built like this. Were kind of similar built to the Eagles. It was defense first. Like, those defenses were top 5, top 10 defenses, and Brady was a game manager. Then he evolved into the GOAT. I'm not saying Jalen is going to end up like that anywhere near it, but the evolution into what you want to see traditionally as a quarterback, that is happening before our eyes.
Yeah.
My thing is, going into next year, like, okay, Jalen, if that's the case, keep the main thing. Brother, I need you to keep the main thing consistently. And because now it almost helps them, honestly, in the way that they did with the Super Bowl. Because Barkley had 25 carries for 57 yards. You see what I'm saying? So now Jalen proved in the biggest stage, okay, well, if we sell out to stop the run, then he can do that to us. And they still got weapons on the outside who, by the way, are under contract for the next 3 years. Well, what can we do? Pick your poison. How do you want to lose? How do you want to fail? Do you want to fail by us running it on you? Do you want to fail by us playing great defense and then hitting the bombs, hitting the go routes when we need to? And Jalen, if they had to play like that all year, here's the thing. This is a very bold statement. If they had to play like that all year or a good chunk of the year, I still think they win the Super Bowl. Why? Because the defense was just that good. The defense, like, I came into the game thinking, I don't know how the Chiefs score 28. And I know, and I'm very confident that we can score more than 28. So you tell me who has the advantage there. Like, there was nothing that the Chiefs can do. When we sat here and we said, not scared of Juju. Hollywood maybe a little bit if they use him, right? Xavier Worthy, he showed you he got off. They should have used him more. And D-Hop showed you he's a washed up version of himself. Sorry. You see what I'm saying? So, like, Vic told you by how his DBs are playing, like, they didn't fear anything they had on the outside. And they was able not only to get pressure with front four, but here's the other big thing nobody's talking about. They were able to stop the run with the front four. They didn't need extra bodies to help come in to stop the run. And it also doesn't help. It helped us when Andy just stopped running it. I mean, when you just stop committing to the run, it shows you.
Well, they continue to just rely on the RPOs. Like that's essentially what
wasn't enough.
Yeah, they're relying on the RPOs, and that's essentially what they're deciding for the run game. And you know, you've got to do a little bit. You got to do better than that. So I said it on Eagles Talk last night that you've got, if you're under duress that much, you've got to be able to run the ball a bit. But here's the other thing, though. Like, it's not like they were a great running team to begin with.
Wasn't like last year. Last year they started running in the playoffs and being effective.
I think your cousin Pacheco not being fully healthy really hurt them. You know, we all know Kareem Hunt. You know, great story that he was back there, but he's not nearly what he was in his prime. So they didn't have a really running game. And this is why I said. Remember last week I told you, and we put the clip out there, and I said a prayer to Vic Fangio that he would hear me, and it turned, like I had said this before, if the Eagles don't blitz and they play how they're supposed to play in coverage, there is nothing that the Chiefs offense would be able to do to beat them. There is nothing. And that showed. Like they kept going, and I messaged you during the game. I'm like, Pete, this is exactly like they're not blitzing and they are collapsing the pocket on him. They are beating this offensive line. Our front four is giving them hell. And on the back end, our coverage is holding up. Like they played a majority of the time, they played quarters, right? They went quarters and they also played some man, right?
They played two deep safety the whole time.
So they essentially their philosophical game plan was, we're playing one-on-one on the outside with our corners, and we're clogging up the middle to take away stuff to Kelsey. Go beat us. And the Chiefs could not. Like so I understand like everyone's saying like, oh, they should have ran it. They only ran it a few times. I don't think
it wouldn't have mattered.
It wouldn't have. That's exactly it wouldn't have mattered. The only way this defense would have really gone to crap was if they beat themselves. If they started playing undisciplined, they started not rushing with integrity. They started not beating their one-on-one,
giving into to Travis's edges when he
that stuff too. But if they played the way they are supposed to play and executed to what they had been doing, there was nothing that the Chiefs could have done on offense. And this is why I alluded to it, that the whole talk was, so much of the talk leading up to the Super Bowl was, what is Steve Spagnuolo's defense going to do to the Chiefs offense? And rightfully so. I even said the first key to the game for the offense is to figure out what to do against Spags blitzes. So I totally understand that conversation.
And they still missed. The interception was a missed assignment.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not saying that was overblown. That is completely understandable as a talking point. But I also had said people are not talking enough about the other side. They're not talking enough about how this defense, led by Vic Fangio, is just as good. I want to say just as good heading into it, but like Fangio in this defense was the number one defense in the whole league for the whole season for a reason. Fangio isn't that far off from Spagnuolo. Like drop out, you can rank Spagnuolo ahead of. You can think he's a better defensive coordinator, but there is very little drop off. And
it is like Spags. He takes a lot of chances, dude. So he's somebody who it's just like he sends pressures from everywhere. And he's had like this is probably one of the worst defensive line because they was getting pressure. But when you have the answers to his questions that he poses, and he may do it 6 or 7 times a game. If you win that battle and you lose 1, 2, you have even Brady couldn't figure out. But I would say those Giants defenses, realistically, probably, especially in defensive line, better than what he had. Like, this was the worst Kansas City team that they've had going into on the defensive side that I think that they've had, and they didn't have the explosive. Both sides. Worse, and so like that's why I had said leading up to him, like this is not the defense just has to do what they're doing, and like I want to give credit to Spags. He's a defensive coordinator that will make the absolute most out of what he has. He will even maybe more so. We've seen it, and he's a huge big game defensive coordinator. He calls what he's able to do, and his creativity is exceptional. So I'm not taking it away from him. It's just that when you have on the other side, Vic Fangio, not the same style of defensive coordinator. He doesn't do exotic stuff. He runs what he runs, but with Vic Fangio, he teaches his players his system and his scheme, and he teaches them how to do the little minute details, right? He teaches them, hey, you are going to run to the ball. You're going to prevent yards after catch. You're going to know how to be disciplined in these zones, and so on and so forth. Like that is him. It's not anything extraordinary X's and O's wise. It's more of like Fangio is going to teach you how to execute, and you're going to out execute everyone. And so that was the difference. And like that's what you get on that side of the ball is a dominating performance. And you can say arguably one of the most dominating defensive performances by a defense in the Super Bowl in NFL history. It's insane what they did. And 2 years ago, it was rookies on the Chiefs side, on the winning side. McDuffie, Watson, all those guys were rookies, and they kind of elevated their game. And I mean, so outside of this, Mahomes it was physical talent and the person that was better, but also it was like the Chiefs collectively as a whole, like McDuffie lost battles to AJ 101. Watson lost battles to everybody. Like Kelsey didn't play a great game. Tooney had his worst game. So, and that's all to benefit us. I kind of when you sat there and said, you said like, I don't know if we play like that and Jalen plays like that and other teams don't sell out to stop the run like Spags would have, I don't think there would have been no team playing at their peak this year if we play like that would have beat us. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, like I said it earlier in the show, you can't prep for us until you play us. Now, the teams that if we see repeats, you're going to have somewhat of an idea. But for the Chiefs and their schedule, there was no one that was, and then Baltimore was week 1.
Yeah.
So they hadn't seen anyone with that physical type of presence until the Super. Like it was really like one of those 1980 Super Bowls, like where it was an NFC East team playing like the AFC had the glitz and the glamour, and the NFC just had a good team, like had better teams. And when you get to the Super Bowl, which one's going to prevail? Generally, it's the team that has the better personnel on the other side of the ball if they play and they have a decent scheme 1. And they play discipline 2, right? And they execute. And then you don't make adjustments and you kind of just play in their hand. And then Mahomes is leaving pockets clean. We seen Mahomes play like Sam Darnold, literally. like where the seeing ghosts, speeding up.
The last time we saw him play that way was against the Bucs.
But in the Super Bowl, yes, but I would say 2023 and it was late in the season when he played Tennessee, and Tennessee beat him like it was 21-3 or 27-3.
Oh yeah.
But like I think positive yards, third downs were key for the offense versus the defense. And we talked about like those, and they may have found something, and they'll have to replace it some type of conceptually. With now Kellen Moore going to New Orleans now, is those QB design runs, man. Like if you're going to blitz, and we don't have the hot reads built in, and Jalen's is not seeing it or whatever he's comfortable with, those QB design runs are just as good as hot routes. Because as soon as you see the pressure coming, if you know the pressure's coming from here and you got a lane here, you change your protection, gone. You know what I mean? So it was the all-encompassing game, and really the person that got us to that point and who carried the team for the first 19 games of the season really could take this game off. It was probably like low-key. It was, I mean, stats-wise wasn't good. I mean, he missed that. Once again, that interception was just crazy because he should have took the man inside, not the man outside.
Yeah.
You literally had two of your offensive linemen not blocking anyone. Mm-hmm. And then your running back going to the outside to stop the corner blitz. So, I
do wonder if that was a communication with Cam, but usually, and I say this like because we don't know what they teach. Obviously, we're not in the room, so we always will say this with that caveat. Mm-hmm. But usually, you're due as a running back. And I learned this from Trey Thomas when he used to. I miss his YouTube tutorials, but he taught protections like that, and the running back has a dual read in that instance. The protection set that way. And usually the running back it's inside out. And why is it inside first? Because you need to. That is the closest path to the quarterback. That's the closest one to the quarterback. The ones on the outside have a farther distance to travel. Right. So you need to take care of the inside first. So Saquon should have went and I'm sure you saw it too, is that he took that step inside. So it's just like, why did he then not take bullet? You know what I mean?
Well, to his credit, Jurgens and Dickerson were there and they both turned the same. So I think at that point the game was 10-0 at that point. And then right after that,
wasn't it? Was it 7-0?
Could have been 7. And it was a pivotal moment in the game because the game was still tight score wise. And that's why I was like, okay, so and then we turned it into no points, got Mahomes to go 3 and out. But if they would have turned that drive into points, anything positive, that's where so looking going forward next year or even in that game, if they would have got positive something out of that turnover, points off that turnover, I think you would have seen Spags start to attack that more. But by that point, you get the pick, no points, get it back. I think we get 3, then it's 10-0, and then it's 17-0, and then at that point the floodgates was open. Yeah, right, because it was really he got to kind of hold. He can't take as many chances now, but we saw that in the conference championship game. That handoff when they throw them stunts and they throw that blitz up the middle. That communication just wasn't there. You know what I mean? So people were getting passed off and becoming free runners, and that's what you don't want.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. But they I'm glad they were better prepared after that drive. I tweeted it. I said like they got bailed out with the offsides, but that was a sack where Jalen Hurts that was a blitz and Jalen Hurts just took the sack. So I don't know what was there. And then, that interception, that was a cause for concern for me at that point. But they buttoned things up and they were better, addressing it moving forward. And at that point, it just became a null point, an irrelevant point to be able to blitz because we were just getting what we wanted. So, So let's use that. Let's transition now over. We're 45 minutes in. Let's transition to the film room. Let's break down what I thought were 3 pivotal plays in the game. And we'll first talk about it's what at this point it's 10-0 still.
10-0, 3rd and 16. This was back-to-back sacks, the first and second down.
So this is the Cooper DeJean interception. So, yeah, well, 10, no, yeah, it's 10-0, right? So this is the pick six. So, I do want to say before this was set up because of 2 straight sacks, and Josh Sweat had a hand in both of them. And we need to give Josh Sweat is our son. We've been on the Josh Sweat train since he was drafted, and I am so proud.
I'm proud, but it's bittersweet.
It's bittersweet, but if we kind of knew that this would be his last year, but that was a whole reason why. Another reason why we wanted this win so bad, because we knew it would be the last season for him.
At any point, before you get into it, at any point, did it make you feel like if we had a decent field 2 years ago that this would have been our 3rd Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I still believe it. Even before this, I still believe if we had a better field, that game would have been a different turnout. But it is what it is, and we'll see. Butterfly effect. We can't think of that. We have this win now. So, right. So, but I want to give a shout out to Josh Sweat, who we'll talk about that into a 3-step drop. But 2 straight sacks sets this up. And I think that this is just, there are 2 things I'm going to point out, right? Because the Chiefs do something very smart. They get Mahomes on the move, right? So you want to get him out of, remove him from the pocket, so they move him here. Now, look at this. You got Quinion Mitchell. I can't make out who the receiver is. I think is that Hollywood Brown? I think it's Hollywood Brown.
At the top of the screen?
Right here, doing the crosser. So I'm pretty sure that's Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, you got Worthy in the seam, you got Hollywood on the outside. That looks like P-Ron closest to the line of scrimmage. And then you got Hopkins coming across the field.
Oh, is this Hopkins? So Quinion is carrying Hopkins then?
Yes.
Yeah. So I couldn't. Yeah, I never remember the receivers. I'm just looking receivers and numbers. So Quinion is here. So look at the back side of this. So you have Mahomes rolling out to his right. Backside, he is going to try to hit. If that's Hopkins, he's trying to hit Hopkins, right? That's the intended receiver on this. If Cooper doesn't pick this off, there's a decent chance that Quinion picks this off, or he's absolutely.
Well, I thought it was going to be incomplete.
Yeah,
because if he wanted to hit Hopkins, I think he would be letting that go now. But you can see Cooper's taking that out. He's going to the flat, so he think Cooper's just going to float to the sideline.
Yes.
And Coop comes back.
Yeah, and that's a great job. That's the thing. Like, not only is Quinion right there to make the play, and this is going to be an incomplete pass at worst because Quinion's right there, as you can see. He jumps it, so he's there, and he may have had an opportunity to make the interception himself. But regardless, it's just a fantastic job by Cooper DeJean because he is going to realize that he doesn't have to play the flat. He doesn't have to play the flat, right? So he's going to backtrack and say he knows that, hey, there's probably a crosser backside that Mahomes is trying to hit. And that's why you see here, he's keying on it, and he's going to jump it and gets that pick. So fantastic play by our 2 rookie corners. And it's just this play in and of itself shows the amazing impact they both have.
I think and then 22 and 23 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Amazing. And then obviously Cooper, Mr. Birthday Boy over here, he's going to finish the job, a la like Patrick Robinson, right? NFC Championship game. So he's going to finish the job. Great return here to be able to get in the end zone. And I'll say also, I don't know if you've seen it, the picture of him getting into the end zone from the end zone camera. That is a shot.
With Mahomes right there behind him.
Yeah, that is a shot that should be hung in the loop. But like, look at this, to be able to just know that he doesn't need to keep carrying anything here in the flat or to the boundary.
Yeah,
he's going to jump the backside route, and because he knows that's what's going to be there. So fantastic job by Coop, and then this run back, amazing stuff. I mean, he's our punt returner, and so like this was just a great return and into the end zone. This was less talked about. I don't know for you, but this was to him, and I think this was a good point, a valid point, the turning point of the game. This was when it's opened, right? This was
like, hey, like if I'm from the Chiefs' perspective, it's like, okay, we're down 10. We've been in this position before. We have the best quarterback and the best overall player in the league. Let's try to get something positive. And then this is really 15 trying to do too much.
Yeah, because he has to.
Yeah. But even for him, that's uncharacteristic to try to throw that. I mean, but you're talking 18 games in, and he's been able to do that all year.
Yeah.
And that's been somewhat successful. That's either a catch positive or it's an incompletion. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's Mahomes is trying just to
they
trying to make a play, but it becomes
every mistake that they could have had was culminated things that they didn't have to pay for throughout the season. It caught up with them.
Yep.
Caught up with them.
Absolutely. So that was the Cooper DeJean pick six.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go now. Fast forward a little bit. This is now later on in the second quarter. Still after the
Vaughn turnover. This is after the Vaughn interception. Great play by Vaughn, by the way.
Great play by Vaughn. Oh, fantastic! And again, our son Josh Sweat is what creates that turnover because he pushes. Was it Joe Tooney? Bull rushes him right into Patrick Mahomes' lap, which causes Mahomes to throw off target, and Bond picks it off. So this is the second and 8 on the ensuing offensive possession for the Eagles, and this was great play calling by Kellen Moore. Oh my God,
Kellen was in his bag a couple.
Oh yeah, he was.
This play design, the deep crosser that he had, the Goddard, great route concept, great timing, great sequencing. But this one here, I mean, like to get 11 running wide open and on a linebacker, like this is the benefit of having that dude to the near side of the screen to the right of Jalen Hurts.
Yes, and
even though they've been bottling him up and they were successful for the most part, but just his presence on the field and this down and distance and the threat of the run leads to the success of this play.
Because this, I like to classify these types of concepts. It's a misdirection because you have so much stress on the one side, on the strong side of the formation, right? You have AJ Brown, DeVonta Smith, and Saquon, who all are going to run out to the pattern, right? And then obviously you have, I believe the tight end was Calcaterra.
It's two tight ends. No, it's Goddard and Cal.
Well, I meant. Oh, they both run. Yeah, they both run vertical routes over this way. So that is stressing the defense.
Look at that. Like, Jalen ran that in too. That's crazy.
Oh, yeah, he could have. But like with all this traffic and all this motion of everyone carrying to the strong side of the formation, and then you have AJ Brown going the opposite way. It's just Nick Bolton can't keep up with that.
No, and kudos to Calcaterra because how many times have we seen him? They probably ran this before, and he was running the route dirty, like he was making contact, getting called for OPI, and that's the thing. Like the mistakes and then the tendencies that our players have had that we've seen all year. Finally, they played clean.
Yep. So
that's like taking candy from a baby. Yeah.
It's so good. We talk about being able to scheme guys open. This is exactly what you're talking about because you are accentuating and putting so much stress on the defense because all of your premier playmakers are on that side of the ball. Yep. So having that, again, the misdirection of, hey, everyone's going right, but then AJ Brown is going to go left. Beautiful. It's too easy. So a man's pick, and it was great because this was after also that miscommunication down the sideline, right? Yeah, so where AJ got a little frustrated.
Yeah.
So I still don't know whose fault that route was. If it was that AJ not knowing it was a back shoulder, or or Hurts miscommunicating and not leading him. I don't know. We're not there in the room, but regardless of what happened, this touchdown taking place after that was just such a great sign and
Yep.
put us up 24-0, 23 with and then the extra point. But yeah, and then final play that we're going to look at. This was the nail in the coffin.
I love this so much.
Yeah, I love this because pistol formation, and we are going to run. This was off of what you call a.
And look, there's no safety in the middle because Spags is like, I had no other choice.
Yes, yeah, and you have
I have no other choice.
So I mean, this concept as it's because DeVonta Smith is running a skinny post. This is a classic quarters beater, or if you're playing too high, it's a too high beater because you're looking at this safety on this side, right? And if he is going to be flat-footed, as they say, or if he is going to not get that depth right there, he's done. Yep. He's done. And like DeVonta Smith, obviously he already gets separation here. But before that, you see this is playing off of a run concept because you see Mekhi Becton. Let me get to the end zone view here, right, so you get a better look. End zone view, you're going to see Mekhi Becton pull. So that's that. It's not a full play action. Well, I mean, it is a play action, but like it's that run concept play action here is really going to look. You see all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 defenders biting hard on that. And this is again the presence of Saquon and the Chiefs consistently selling out against the run attributes and helps set this up. So you get that play action here, and then you got the deep shot. This sets it up. And as I go to back to the all 22, once that happens, yeah, it's money. There's no one there. DeVonta is running free. The safety is 5 foot. He's actually trying to bite on the crosser by Goddard.
Yep.
And he's nowhere in the play. And then poor who's the defender's name?
Watson.
What? Yeah.
Watson got toasted on that one. He got the Dotson one. The Dotson one could have been the touchdown if Jalen would have let him further because he had 2 steps on it.
He still got burned. Yeah, he
has two steps. Well, and this is a tough spot because Watson just came back. He was hurt for most of the year, a good chunk of the year. So he just came back. But it just goes to show you, like, the rookies 2 years ago played well enough to win by 3. This year, it was a different story. I honestly, I hope Vegas has already shown you, based on the odds to win the Super Bowl next year, Chiefs are the favorite at plus 600. I think the Ravens is a plus 700, and the Eagles, the defending champions, are plus 750. So they still don't believe, right? Which is fine. I want to see a rubber match now because I know they're going to go back to the drawing board and do something different. And then we're not going to look the same. Obviously, Milton possibly swept, but with BG retiring, I don't know, because I think for guys, I think we're going to make offers. I think Milton Williams may be a little bit different. He needs to be maybe priced out. But for Sweat, I think the money may be somewhat there. But there's a dude down in Cleveland that we all want. So. You know
that should be interesting. I
can see him and Jalen getting along really well because Miles is kind of like that old soul, like Jalen.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Likes that jazz and all that. I mean, it's just even watching it back now, it's just like, bro, it didn't feel like a Super Bowl because it was so one-sided.
Yeah.
It was so one-sided. It didn't feel like a Super Bowl. It just kind of felt like another game. Like it didn't, you know what I mean? So great message in the halftime performance. If you missed all the Easter eggs, go back and watch them.
Had to go back. I didn't catch all of them at first. But
he always does that. Kendrick is he's so layered, man. And that's the same thing with Jalen. He's so layered. Mm-hmm. And he, like he said, I remember, I think it was the one hit he did with the NFL network guys. It's like they talked about the screensaver. He was like, hey, I really don't think about what people say about me, but whatever, keep it coming, because keep it. And here's the thing: as great as Jalen is today, week 2, he do some stupid shit. People gonna forget all about this week. They're gonna forget all about Super Bowl 59.
Oh my God!
But I mean, to me, he's already the most decorated quarterback to ever wear an Eagles uniform.
Yeah. We asked this.
3 years. Like, that's just.
We asked this last night on Eagles Talk, so I'll have you answer it. Is Jalen Hurts the greatest Eagles quarterback ever?
That's why I said most decorated. It's a very political way of answering that question. Most decorated and most accomplished. If I'm saying greatest, he's already number 2. Like, he's already damn near there, but it's just so early. It's the most clutch.
That's not saying much.
For when the quarterbacks that we've had that have had better physical traits than him.
I'm talking about clutch department. We haven't had many clutch QBs outside of Nick Foles. Like, that's
they've probably been. If you stack up the most talented physical trait quarterbacks that ever played the position for the Eagles, the ones that have had the most physical traits have been the least clutch.
Well, that was going to be my next follow-up, because I also is who was the best quarterback, and I know that's an open-ended, or that
the
is
best physical trait quarterback has ever wore an Eagles uniform.
You said a lot of people, and I know you're going to say it, is Randall Cunningham. People are going to You're going to say Mike Vick.
Yes.
I mean, that would be. I never watched. I was too young to watch Randall Cunningham, so I'm just.
It's not even. Randall was Randall, but Vic, God, if we had prime Vic, people just don't know. They don't understand.
I wish 2010. I've said this so many times to you. I don't need to tell you again. But if you're new to listening to this podcast and you haven't heard me say this before, I'll say it again. I wish 2010 Vic was Vic forever, because 2010 Vic was the single greatest quarterback I have ever seen. Maybe maybe that's changed a little bit. Maybe obviously Patrick Mahomes is more talented and everything like that. But for a long time, that 2010 version of Michael Vick was it for me. Like, I've never seen from
that year real quick.
I've never seen a quarterback play like that. And people talk about Lamar. The Lamar, 2010 Vic was Lamar. That's how now the iteration of Lamar now, that was 2010 Vic for such a long time. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's how high I regard.
He had 100.2 rating that year in 2010 through 12 games.
Yes. Yep. People don't realize that he finally entered the version of himself that he should have always been, as not only the running and mobile quarterback that he always has been, or always had been before that, but he was a very good passer. He was running Andy Reid's West Coast offense and running it highly, at a high level. It's just a shame that 2010 was the only year that he was able to display that. The next year he had some injury issues, and then consistency, which is why
he played more games in 2011 than he did in 2010. I didn't know he was here that long. He was here for 5 years.
Yeah. Well, the first couple of years, it wasn't, because when did he come? 2008 or 2009?
2009. 2009
okay.
was the first year.
So he was, yeah. So, I mean, that's, we'll get into another conversation on that, but that's the quarterback talk. 3-step drop. So top 3 stars of of this Super Bowl for you outside of Jalen Hurts? So who outside of Jalen Hurts deserves the spotlight?
Hmm.
You want me to go first?
Nah, I mean, I got. I think we should alternate. So I'm gonna go. My first one. I'm gonna say Milton Williams. It's his coming out party.
Great
Who's
game.
your first one?
Josh Sweat. Had to
Okay.
be. His up until like I had said that beginning of the fourth quarter when they started like the whole fan voting for Super Bowl MVP, I had tweeted out that my two picks for Super Bowl MVP would be Jalen Hurts and Josh Sweat.
Yeah.
And a lot of people on the defense should have deserves recognition because the defense as a whole played outstanding. So there were numerous people on defense that deserve recognition. But for me, if you're going to pick out one, if I'm going to have to pick out one person on defense that shined the brightest, it was Josh Sweat. It was incredible.
My second. I'm gonna go because you said it can't. Does it have to be a player?
No, it doesn't have to be a player.
Stout.
Yeah.
Stout. Listen, this is going to be like an hour and 7 minutes in. This offensive line is better than any offensive line that Jason Kelce ever had that he played with. This I cannot stress to you enough. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying it's a physical talent perspective from Cam to Kels, but this combination of this five. I mean, God, it's just Jalen had like the leaker pass that he had to Saquon to set up the AJ touchdown. No, it wasn't the AJ touchdown.
It turned into a field goal.
Turned into a field goal, okay.
Yeah.
But that he had 6 seconds.
Yeah.
He had 6 seconds.
Yep.
So that stat will be my second because without him, I don't know. Like I can't. I don't even want to think about it. Like him and Vic are the second most important coaches on this staff.
Well, you talk about Vic. He's going to be my second star, Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
And I want to give. Did you listen to the Philly special pod after the Super Bowl?
Nah, I've been meaning to listen to it. I listened to
yeah, you should listen. It's funny because Shield gave a really funny story
okay.
about Vic Fangio after the win, and if I'm pretty sure a lot of people have seen also his Ask Me Anything segment that the Eagles social media.
He was throwing a lot of them cards to the ground, yo.
That's just old school Vic, and for him to talk about just another of the dozens of great storylines behind this team, to be ridiculed by the Miami Dolphins players and fans and saying like good riddance to Vic Fangio.
They just don't want to work
and do what he did. He is a legend, an absolute legend. I love it. It really harkens back to the time of Jim Johnson when we had him, and this reminds me of him. And I am so thankful that he was able to come in. And a lot of people hated the hire because of his system, but as we've said, it's different when you have the actual architect of said scheme than you have, as opposed to having disciples of it, because he knows what he's doing. He knows, and it's not so much the scheme itself; it's how he teaches. I
would love to ask Vic, when did you know this defense was capable of this? Like, what was the moment?
Question.
What was the moment? Was it a play? Was it a game? Was it a practice where you realized, like, all right, like we got something, and they brought in. Before I get to my third, this is the scary part. We heard the characteristics with Jalen Carter coming out. These are guys who are young, moldable, talented, and they said the one thing we heard him say is like, Vic, there's no BS. It's you work, there's no BS. And now the fruits of their labor, they've been rewarded with the championship. you think they're not going to buy in even more?
Oh, hell yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Third, I'm going to go with the best GM in Philadelphia sports history, and that's Howie Roseman. We don't have what we have, and the coaches can't cook the meal that they can prepare if the groceries aren't brought.
Yep.
If the right ingredients ain't purchased, your meal is going to end up being shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I was watching last night and Brinks is going through the draft, 21, 22, 23, like, boy's on the heater, man.
Oh my God.
He's just on the heater. And then the other 31 GMs in the league just got to be like, how is this dude? Like, they want that. You know what I mean? And to have it with the right blend, and the first Super Bowl you won, the team was older, and now this team, like I said, this feels like it could be the start of something. It could be the start of something special.
Yep, I hear it. Absolutely. Love Howie. My third star, predictable, but it's Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
I know that,
well deserved, man.
I know that the box score is going to show I don't want to say lackluster, but like pedestrian numbers, especially for his caliber.
Right.
But I think it was the fact that his presence made Steve Spagnuolo say, "We are going to stop Saquon Barkley, and that's it." Like, they literally said, "Saquon, that is our number one and only objective."
To sit here and to put it and to expound on what you just said, to sit here and say, okay, he's the offensive player of the year. We stop him, and I'll live with the one-on-one matchups with AJ Brown and DeVonta Smith and be comfortable.
It's insane.
Okay.
And not only did he have, I'm gonna say this, he didn't have a great game on the ground, but he was still making his presence known in
catches. I think he had 3 or 4 catches,
and especially in the second half, he finished with 6 catches for 40 yards, but he got bulk of them in the second half. They started to be like, we got to get him touches on the outside, and that, even like that one touchdown, or not one, the one long reception, the 22-yarder, that technically could have been a touchdown if Jalen Hurts leads them, instead of throws behind him. But what his impact, he still finishes with 97 yards from scrimmage, right? That's still like a good number. For him to be able to be the centerpiece and I don't care what anyone says, the MVP of not only this team but in the league, and then to finish it off with a Super Bowl, considering the story behind what happened, what transpired. He deserves everything. He deserves everything. And we'll get to it next week. Our topic is going to be Saquon Barkley, and we'll dive into his season and what it's meant and everything like that. But let that be, a little bit of a teaser that he deserves a star on this night for the Super Bowl. He is one of the greatest Eagles already to ever play. And he deserves a spotlight. So no huddle. Any last minute thoughts?
Man. Just everybody out there, if you're traveling for the parade, you flying in, driving in, or you're already here, just be safe, parade responsibly, and enjoy it, man. Enjoy it and soak it in, because this, like I said, this one, we can't put the underdog mask on now, man.
We're the guys.
I honestly don't know a team that can get close to us just in one off season, because we didn't get here just in one off season. Things had to align properly, had to draft properly. And I mean, if you look at the NFC, teams have become weaker. The Lions lost both their coordinators. There's some uncertainty in other positions. I mean, obviously Washington, but we had to see what they do in the offseason. But even them, I don't think you can't build we didn't build what we have overnight. And last year's collapse, I think, was just as monumental as any signing this year, because it changed the mindset. it changed the mindset of what you can't take talent for granted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My no huddle real quick. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that, and we'll get into. We have a long off season, so we'll talk about what the future holds for them. But a lot of people want to pile on right now, and it's fun to pile on. And people want to say that Patrick Mahomes' legacy is tarnished and everything like that. For one, no, it's not.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. And I want to say that
all the people saying that if Patrick Mahomes was traded for Jalen Hurts tomorrow, yeah. Stop. There's no. I swear, you need to get your head checked if you turn down that trade.
Yeah, no way, no way you're turning down that trade. But I just want to. We talked about the Eagles for the whole show, but I want to give them their flowers and their respect because, yeah, they got absolutely dominated by the Eagles. They were outclassed, and it it was really, really bad. Really, really bad. Mm-hmm. But it's also kind of like you've had to kind of expect it. Mm-hmm. And I mean that in a good way for the Chiefs. Like, to be able to get the 3 straight Super Bowls after winning the first 2.
Which no team has ever done.
Like, do you realize that?
I mean, get the 3 and after winning. Yeah. I mean, the Bills got the 4, but we know what that is.
Exactly. Like, getting to the Super Bowl, your off season is cut. It's so short. Like, that is why do you think there's always Super Bowl hangovers? Because the teams that play in the Super Bowl have less of a break. It's their off season is legitimately cut short, and they're banged up. When you are that successful, mm-hmm. coaches and players who help you be successful, they go elsewhere. They get poached for bigger deals or bigger opportunities elsewhere. That's the nature of the game.
It happens to us every time we get to the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Right? So to be able to get to this point, the 3rd Super Bowl, is a monumental feat in and of itself. And I don't want that to get lost. As Eagles fans, like, it's fun to poke fun at them and tease them now, but objectively, they deserve a lot of credit. And hats off to, Patrick Mahomes, say what you want about him and everything like that in terms of, he kind of flops and all that, whatever. I love the fact that since the Super Bowl 2 years ago, he will not stop singing Jalen Hurts' praises. And you listen to him talk about Jalen Hurts. Even 2 years ago, he said if there were any doubts about Jalen Hurts, they should be silenced now. And they weren't silenced, but
they got louder.
They got something to listen to Patrick Mahomes. And you can say that's what he's supposed to say, give respect. Like, he doesn't have to say that. Again, he doesn't have to go out of the way to say that, but he does. And I think as an organization, I think that the Chiefs will be fine. Yep. I think they will be fine.
And they kind of needed it because they needed the wake-up call to make some changes. Yep. To say, hey, people, once again, I go back to Brady. People forget this dude went 10 years without winning one. 10. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think people realize how long Brady played 20 years and got 7.
Yeah.
So, this is the first time, really where Mahomes adversity and what and the game is changing slightly a little bit. And now he just has to adjust. Him and Andy have to adjust, right? So, it can happen. You can have greatness in a short amount of time, and then you can hit an obstacle, and then how do you respond to that?
Yeah.
100%. And before we leave, I speak on behalf of both of us. This wouldn't have happened if you did not have a humble coach who has to manage all this talent, manage these personalities, but be humble enough to remove himself and just let the team do what it needs to do. And hats off to Sirianni.
Yeah, how did we go a whole show without without mentioning him? Shame on us, but 100%. And we'll talk about more him. Well, we'll make it an emphasis to talk about him some more this offseason, but he deserves so much credit. All the talk about, what does he do? He doesn't do anything. He does so much.
He does enough.
He does a lot. So, yeah, absolutely. Pete, great show. Are you going to the parade?
Don't know, man. We will see. If I'm going, it will not be in the capacity that I could participated in 2018, where I was in the thick of it all.
Never. Not me either. Not me either, bro.
This will be outskirts near the stadiums, towards the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
May not even get on Patterson Abroad and just watch them leave just to say you were there. Come right back home.
Yeah, I think I'll be with you right there. I don't know. I forget what you did for that first parade. We camped out. We were at the art museum at 3 a.m.
I was in the city by 5, but I was towards Ben Franklin Parkway where they did the big ass circle shit.
Yeah.
So we were out there pretty early.
Yeah, I was at the art museum. I was at the front. We were there at 3 a.m.
What time did 18 start?
Did it start around 11 o'clock?
No, I think it was earlier than that.
Did it? Okay.
I think it was. I want to say like 11 o'clock to me feels late. I feel like I was back home by like 1:30, 2 o'clock.
I was home earlier than I thought I'd be.
So that's what makes me think it was a little earlier today.
Yeah, I remember. But
I think 11 is just it's tough.
Yeah, but
we are Valentine's Day, so
we are 8 years older than we were back then.
Yes.
We're old men. We don't have the energy for that. But yeah, if it looks like I am going, but I am not going all out like I did 8 years ago. I don't have that energy. So, but I most likely will be there. If you're listening, and if you see me, definitely say what's up. But next week we'll be back for another. Next week is going to be our Saquon show. Homage to Saquon. So,
just the Saquon show. As we recall,
he deserves his whole episode. So
we will see.
Like that, you see my, you already know. So
I know. It just may not be that running back that matters. You have to tune in next week.
We'll tune in next week. For myself, for Pete, and for our sponsor, Alonzi Travel, make sure you hit me up if you want to plan a vacation. And the rest of us at A2D, we appreciate you. Stay safe and go Birds. Super Bowl champs.
Go Birds. Super Bowl champs, baby.